Now, before starting the video, what I want to show you is that by the end of this video, we will end up creating a interface where, as a user, we will share the input in the Telegram bot, and based on the AI and the logic that we will define, it will give an output. For example, if I want to know what is inventory for SKU2, so you can see the output is 475. Let's try one more question. What is stock out days for SKU2? So stock out days are basically it's basically inventory divided by daily order quantity. You can see the output, which is 15. So this is what we will end up creating at the end of this series. So just be with me and let's watch the next tutorial. Hey everyone, I welcome you to the video 7 of this series where we are creating project in the field of supply chain, preferably in the inventory management using AI. And this is a flow chart. Just to have a quick recap, this is a data part, this is a user input part. So we were somewhere in this user input part, the user gives an input which is fed to prompt engineering. The prompt engineering gives the input to AI, and we have seen in the last video that how the output from the AI looks like. Okay, now in this video we will discuss about this blue box. Now if you look at this blue box, it has two input parameters. One, the output from the AI, which is an input for this blue box. Okay, now the second thing is this blue box, based on the output, which is a SQL query, will fetch data from this database to give a final output. So in this video, we will try to define this blue box. Okay. Again, I'm letting you know the function of blue box is two things. One is to get an input from AI, and the second is to look into the database to extract the information. Now this information extraction will be done by an operator called as a SQLite. So this blue box has three functions to be done. One is to get an input from AI. Okay. The second thing is to extract the data from this database, and how it will do it. It will do it actually by using a SQLite or an operator known as SQLite. So we will define this blue box in this call. So just open the Visual Studio. Okay. Select this space and create a file known as database.py. You can again name it anything that you want. Okay. I've already written the codes. Okay. Trust me, I'll explain this. It is going to be super easy. So what we are doing here is we are importing SQLite because that blue box will operate using a SQLite. So we are importing the SQLite. We are importing pandas because we are working on data frame. And for the minimal operations, we need to operate. We need to actually import these pandas. Okay. Now we are actually defining a function. This function could be correlated with that blue box. Okay. Now in that blue box, if you see, okay, in blue box we have one input, okay, which is a query which is coming from this AI, and the second thing is where it has to look for the data in the DB path. So we are naming it as a DB path, which is exactly this green box. Okay. So this blue box is basically a function, naming it as a run underscore SQL underscore query. It will take two input parameters. One is DB path, which is a green box here, and the other is this query part, which is coming into this blue box. Okay. Now I'm saying that I'm calling an operator, which is SQLite, okay, and establishing a connection. Now this SQLite, what it will do, it will fetch data from the database, which is this one, or DP underscore path. This is the only thing that you need to understand in this entire code. Rest everything will remain same, in the sense once the connection is established, it will extract data and we'll call it as a data frame. The output would be a data frame. That's it. We are not defining anything here. We are just defining the function, that how the blue box will operate. Again, I'm explaining it to you. In the blue box, there will be two input parameters. One will be the path, that is where to look for the data, and the second thing is the query, means based on what the data has to be extracted. Once you input these two things in this function or the blue box, it will establish a connection, okay, using SQLite into this DB path or that green box, and will extract the data. Now once it will extract the data, we will call it as a data frame, and the output would be the same data frame. That's it. Now we'll see that how it looks like. For example, if I'm defining a function known as run app.py, okay, not function but a file, run to app.py. So what we will see in this particular file is, see, in the last video we have seen that when an AI gives an output, how does it looks like? This one, in the file name run underscore app.py. Now in this video what we will see is what will be the final output look like. Okay, so this one we run, this one would be, final output would be in the file run to app.py. Okay, so we have already seen the last video the output from this one. Okay, we will see the output, the final output here from this blue box. So what I'll do is, see, you need an output from AI which is an input to the blue box. Okay, so till AI everything will remain same, just copy it and paste it here. Okay, now everything, now think from the perspective of blue box. Now what will blue box do? We have defined the function of blue box here, that it's basically a function run SQL query. Okay, so from database import this function. Now you got it. We have imported the blue box in this file. Okay, now what I'll do here is, we also need to import your database. Why? That's the first question. So if you go into this blue box, this is a blue box. Okay, now this blue box has two input parameters, one is db path, one is query. So if I'm importing this function, I also need to define these two parameters, one is db path and one is query. So in order to define, first I need to import, this is my db path. Okay, this is an output from the AI. Okay, now what I'm trying to say is, I'm defining, say, the output from the blue box a df underscore results. What it will do is, it will run the blue box, and what is blue box? This one, run SQL query. Okay, so this is a blue box, run SQL query. Now it has two parameters, one is db path, we have discussed, and the other is query. Okay, the query, if you look into it in this particular figure, okay, the input to this query is this one, then output from AI. We already have an output from AI, we know that is known by the name of SQL output. Just copy it and paste it. Okay, and print df results. That's it. Okay, now just save it, control S. Python, first load the program, load csv.py. Okay, so you can see the file has been loaded. This is a successful excel loaded into database. Now run Python, the file name is run to app.py. Okay, just run it. We'll see what is the error from database, import run SQL query from database, that is an error. So we'll go to the database.py. Okay, run SQL query, seems to be fine. Okay, let's try it once again. and to app.py, it should give an output. So sometimes we have an error like this. Okay, so see if there is error somewhere in the code itself, that would get highlighted here itself. I don't think there is error. If you are getting an error again and again, ensure that codes are correct. Okay, and just close the terminal, close the this Visual Studio, and reopen it. Okay, sometimes it takes time to save the data. I think this will give an output. Yep. So we have the output. So what I have done here is I actually shut down my Visual Studio. Okay, sometimes it could happen. Restart the Visual Studio. If there is some error, you can fix it out. Just make sure that you run the codes as per that, and basically you can see the output here. Okay. So just explaining with the output. So as a user, as a from the front end side, for example, you typed in the question, what is the inventory for SKU2? It's a simple question that you have entered. Now, at the end of this exercise, what AI has done that it has converted this what is inventory for SKU2 into a machine language called a SQL as this that select inventory from reports where SKU is equal to SKU2. Now, this is coming from the fact, yeah. So as a user input, you can see here has given the input that what is the inventory for SKU2. Okay. Now, based on prompt engineering and AI, the AI has converted this input, this user input, that is what is inventory for SKU2 in the machine language, that is SQL, which is this one. Select inventory from report where SKU is equal to SKU2. And the output is 475. Now you can check from the data for SKU2 where inventory was 475. Okay. So if you see what we have done here is we started with the database itself. This one, okay, this part. We define load cs. First of all, we define the data. This is a data file, okay, Excel file. Then we define load csv.py, which was this file, which again is loading of this Excel file into the database so that the SQL can operate. Okay. Now once we did that, we went on to this, that is a user input, and define prompt engineering. Now this is a prompt builder. Okay. Now input this to this prompt engineering has some output, and that output moves to the AI. This is your AI, which is a LLM agents.py. Okay. Now the output from AI, okay, will be a query. How we are going to check it? You can go into run underscore app.py. This is a file. Now from this run underscore app.py, we needed to understand what is this blue box and the final output from the blue box, which is run to underscore app.py, which is the final output. Okay. So you can see we have created an AI which takes on user input in a normal language, in the sense English. If you want to let the user input in say Tamil language, okay, then it won't be a very complicated thing, in the sense instead of passing the user input directly into the prompt builder, you will need to introduce one language, language change.py file, where you will take the Tamil language, will convert into the English language, and then will pass the English language into the prompt builder and so on. And that is why I have created file in such a format that if you require to change anything, you can go into that specific file and can make the changes as required. Okay, so this is the backend that we have designed. Okay, in the next video, what we will do is we will convert this run to app.py to the front end. Okay, so what this it will look like. So if you see, right now we are giving the user input directly into the database, not in the database but in the file itself. Okay, in the next video you will see that we will use a Telegram bot, which is a front end part where user will make an input. Okay, and that input will travel to prompt engineering to AI to this blue box, which will fetch data from this database using an Excel file, and the output will again move to the Telegram bot, which again will move to the user. So just remain tuned for the front end part for the Telegram bot. And if you think this project is useful to you and is making more sense to you,
Hit like button, share with your friends, with your colleagues, with your relatives, and let me know in the comments. See you in the next video.